If you are or work for a medium-sized business or above, obviously an area of concern is going to be acquiring talent, supporting that talent effectively, and retaining them for a long period of time. Turnover in your employee base is expensive. It's really expensive. You have to pay money to put advertisements out to bring people's attention to the job postings. You're paying your employees to spend time reviewing resumes and interviewing folks. It's expensive, it's time consuming, it's costly, it's a drag. So the better thing to do is to retain the quality people, to get quality people and hang on to them. One of the best ways to do that, if you're a medium-sized business or above, maybe certain higher small sized and above, one of the best things that you can do is have support groups, employee resource groups, affinity groups, giving your employees an opportunity to band together and affect change within and outside of the organization, to give your employees an opportunity to have a sense of community, which is also important for your millennial employees and younger. It's huge part of their workforce satisfaction. We're going to talk about all of those things, all things ERG, employee resource group, affinity group, diversity group, whatever you want to call those. All right, we're going to be talking about those groups. We're going to talk about how to effectively manifest one of those groups, to create one of those groups, to have it grow, to have it be effective and strong, and how that can play into your employee retention. All that and more right after this. Man, that gets me pumped up. I'm ready to rock. Okay, so we have two very special guests, our friends from UW Health, Michael Kind and Marvel Brown. I'm going to bring them in. They're going to bring their expertise. And without further ado, here they are. Hello, friends. Good morning. How are you?
Good morning.
Thanks for having us.
Yeah, you bet. My pleasure. UW Health, good friends of the Wisconsin Veterans Chamber of Commerce. We're very happy to have the two of you as guests on the show. And let me just give you a second here to introduce yourself. Say your name, what you do, who you do it with, and how you do it. I guess we'll start with Michael.
So my name is Michael Kind. I am one of the environmental services supervisors here with UW Health. I've been here about 8 years now. And I'm a proud former member of the U.S. Army Reserves and veteran.
Excellent. So are you then a member of, because we're going to be talking about the veteran ERG at UW Health, you're a member of that ERG then?
I am. I'm actually one of the co-chairs.
Excellent. All right. So we've got an expert here. Good stuff. All right. Marvel, why don't you introduce yourself?
Good morning. My name's Marvel Brown. I'm the Career Pathways Recruitment Coordinator with our UW Health Talent Acquisition Team. And I work with our hiring and all of our marketing to our community partners in the military area. And I am a family member of a military family.
Outstanding. Very cool. Now, before we dig into ERG stuff, again, welcome Marvel and Michael. For everybody that's watching, I noticed we just had a comment come in from Sheena. Hey, sure appreciate you. Thank you for thanking us for our service. We appreciate your support. Very, very much so. Sheena, thank you so much for your comment and for watching. If anybody else has any comments, any questions, please throw your questions out. This is going to be super informative, especially if you have questions about resource groups. Maybe you have a resource group and it is not effective. There's a lot of those, right? We're going to tell you how to fix it. Okay. Just ask your questions about anything at all. You want to talk about the Green Bay Packers prospects for next year? Maybe it's not the best use of our time, but we'll talk about it. We're not afraid of any topic. So, Marvel, I just want to ask you then, obviously being in talent acquisition, I would assume, maybe I'm wrong, that you have a lot of interaction with your various ERGs, your employee resource or affinity groups at UW Health. How many affinity groups do you have? How involved are you with those groups? Is it just the military one? Kind of give us the overarching, the structure of how that all works at UW Health.
Sure. So actually our employee resource groups are all overseen and led by our diversity, equity, and inclusion group. So, and it's, I'm a member of, and we also have an LGBTQ+, we have a Black African American group, we have a Hmong group, we have a women in leadership group. So we have a number of different, Latinx group as well. So we have a number of opportunities for our employees to engage in employee resource groups. And, but we, as far as the military goes, I'm super excited that we get to have this space now. I have been doing some work prior to the ERGs being started, which is, I think, about 1.5 years ago now.
So it's relatively new, all of your ERGs, or just the military one?
All of them. Yep. Our whole concept of the ERGs. Yep. We're kind of new into this space. So, but we're moving forward. So, and we've got a lot of support.
Excellent. So what did you find was one of your challenges or roadblocks or hurdles in making that dive into, because having a handful of affinity groups right off the bat, that had to have been a big lift. Were there any hurdles, or was it just instantly you had buy-in and everybody was rolling?
Well, we still continue to build our buy-in, but it really starts in the beginning with understanding what an affinity group is and what can they do and what impact can they have on their community. But it's really kind of doing that research in advance and then trying to identify where in your organization your staff can engage. And then once you get that set up, you try to find people who are leaders, just like Michael, who can come in and start to build that affinity group. The nice thing about this group are the military service member group is that, it's military service members or family members or anybody that wants to be part of that group. And really, we're building as we go when we talk about how we want to have an impact, not only internally with our workforce, but externally as far as talent acquisition, as well as community support.
Outstanding. Now, Michael, do you have any experience prior to this with affinity groups or ERGs? Did somebody just come up to you and was like, hey, you're the one that was in the Army, right? Would you do this thing? Would you start this thing? How did that come about?
So that's actually exactly how it began for things change. And somebody had identified me as somebody who could potentially have interest in this based on our past, conversations and experiences together. And I jumped right on it. My boss gave me the support right away. So we and I've worked a little bit with Marvel in the past. So kind of an easy choice for me.
Right on. Now, how big is your military or veteran supporting or military family ERG? It sounds like a pretty big, basically, if you're a military member or you're a veteran or you're military friendly and just want to show your support for the community, you can be a part of it. How big is it right now, and how long did it take you to get to that size?
So, oddly enough, well, not oddly enough, COVID has made, getting those numbers up there. We had some big hiccups right in the beginning while we were trying to jump off. We've fluctuated between 8 and 12 members right now. In our last meeting, we identified that recruitment is going to be one of our big focuses. That's going to be a part of us, but also we've got really great support from our DEI partner, Afra Smith, who brought on, and I think with her help, we're gonna be able to get this to jump off.
Well, and for those that aren't familiar with resource groups and ERGs, 8 to 12 members, active members of an ERG is fantastic. That's nothing to shake a stick at. It takes a long time to develop and grow and sustain a solid ERG. So I don't want you to visualize in your head, a big company like UW Health and be like, well, I only have 8 to 12 members. Like that's a good size group, especially if they're active. And in the face of and growing that and keeping it active in the face of COVID and all the restrictions that we have in place, is really quite good. So what have you found? And either of you can ask this or can answer this rather. What have you found has been one of the greatest successes of your ERG movement, of this experiment, this new endeavor of launching ERGs at UW Health? How has it been helpful?
Well, Michael, I'll just pop in here for a second. We are a work in progress, and we will always be continuously improving, obviously. But I think right now, when we have gone from people who work here, who are veterans or are military service members or family members, they didn't have this space before, and now they have this space. And with that, it's just being able to come in and listen and know that you're among people who kind of speak the same language. And let's face it, veterans and military service members have their own alphabet.
We kind of do it, yeah.
And so, it's really kind of giving that open space to be able to engage with each other and then find strategies to continue to grow. That's my thought, as far as like the biggest takeaway so far.
I mean, I can piggyback off that a little bit too.
Sure.
Being a part of that group, even no matter how small or how large it might be, it doesn't matter how large the group is to have a constructive conversation. That to me is a success in itself. But being able to, again, like she said, being able to speak to people who think like you and have done things that you've done is huge.
Absolutely. And it may be, since it's been a year and a half, it may be too early to tell, or maybe not. But have you seen a impact on maybe not retention? It could be too early to tell. I don't know, but morale, or what impacts in this year and a half since you started the ERGs? Have you seen any impact in your day-to-day, in your employee satisfaction or morale or anything like that?
So, not directly for me, but as far as the other ERGs, all the co-chairs meet once a month. There's nothing but positive things that each group has to say about their experiences, and these things, like you said, take time to get put together. And being a supervisor myself, one of the ways that you retain employees is to keep them engaged. And there's really not a better way to keep people engaged than letting them have a safe space to talk to people with similar thoughts, like I said before.
Right on. So what are your end goals? Obviously, when you didn't just decide out of nowhere to be like, well, let's start ERGs, there was probably the thought that it would help in some ways. Let's talk about your strategic vision here. Let's say in 5 years, you've accomplished everything you've set out to accomplish with your military and veteran ERG, or even the ERG program overarchingly. What does that world look like?
To me, that world looks like leaders throughout this organization understand the skill sets that military members and veterans bring to the table that other people maybe don't. It makes veterans a very strong candidate, and it may be eligible for additional benefits for joining the organization.
Right on. What about you, Marvel? What do you think the end goal is, the end vision of these programs?
Well, we're very lucky to have our DEI leadership really kind of taking the leadership with building these groups and really trying to diversify our organization because our population or our patient population is extremely diverse. So we need to be able to communicate well with our patients and relate really well. So if we have a diverse workforce, being able to, like Michael said, finding people with these skill sets who come right in already trained, ready to go, and can advance more quickly because they have those skill sets. So, and one of the things, from a strategic standpoint within talent acquisition is we have done a overall training of our team. We had a captain from the Army come in and give a presentation to help us understand, the MOS codes, understanding the transferable skills from civilian to military, and what does that look like, and how to read a resume of a military service member and make sure that we're identifying those transferable skills so that we can bring them into the organization.
Boy, now that sure is $1 million topic, isn't it? Like the transferable skills and verbiage and language from both ends. I mean, really, there's the onus on the veteran to speak civilian, to put on that civilian camouflage and try to translate, but then also on the HR and hiring managers to meet the veteran halfway, because there's going to, if you don't meet halfway, there's going to be some communication breakdown, and then you miss an opportunity. The veteran talent misses an opportunity to find fulfilling, gainful employment to support themselves and their families with, and then the organization misses out on the opportunity to acquire veteran talent that will impact their organization. What do you find are some of the qualities, Michael, that your veterans at UW Health bring to the table, and what is UW Health or even similar organizations looking for in their veteran talent acquisition?
Well, honestly, one of the most beautiful things about veterans and those who have served in the military is that they already understand what it is to be a part of an organization that's bigger than themselves. They can work well on their own. They are awesome working in a team. Soldiers and military members can't be late to anything, so without some sort of repercussion. So they're timely. And anybody who would sign on that dotted line to me is very driven.
Yeah. There's an inherent value. There's an inherent understanding, and we both served. We know that not every single veteran is all of the things that we visualize. Not everyone is altruistic or has integrity or is a hard charger or whatever, but it's probably a higher likelihood that you're going to find that in a veteran military member. I think that's what people look for, because as Michael said, it takes a certain kind of call to serve, an internal drive to get you to sign on the dotted line and get started with that whole process in the first place. So if, let's say, somebody's watching and they're interested in starting an ERG or a resource group or joining an existing one or anything like that, what advice would you have? Well, let's not even say joining an existing one. I'm going to back up. Let's say somebody's listening, they're sitting in an organization that doesn't have a veteran ERG. What advice would you have for them to get started to start an affinity group?
Shout it at the top of a mountain that ERGs are, starting to come in. Let everybody know that they've got a place somewhere. I can't say enough how much support we have from leadership and from our DEI group. That this is really what they do. We've already had the opportunity as co-chairs to meet with our CEO, and he was just, and that's our groups are going to meet with him again. So Leadership buy-in is super key. One thing I'll say that I really want to get to, as far as recruitment in our group alone, is I would love to have more diversity when it comes to, I don't want to say rank, but leadership level and job titles. Because from my start in this group, I see that the more input that you have, the more ideas you can come up with, the more you can drive change, the more you can keep the good things happening.
That's a really good point. And I think that, the veteran community overarchingly is very diverse. It's the most diverse organization or fighting force in the world. And having the military, I say this all the time, the military derives much of its strength from its diversity of thought, diversity of background, diversity of intention, demographic. I mean, every single possible thing, there's diversity in the U.S. military. And I think that's great. There's also internal diversity, like you said, diversity of rank. There's huge swaths up and down the chain. I mean, it is a huge machine. So having that reflected, if I'm hearing you right, having that reflected in your ERG, having your ERG reflect the diversity inherent in the military is going to be valuable.
Yeah, absolutely. And I'm talking different ranks, different, branches of the military, members like Marvel who aren't necessarily in the military, but support us 100%, that's amazing.
Yeah, it's super, super important. I think that's the point really of, diversity, equity, and inclusion initiatives is to recognize and celebrate our diversity and provides a supportive environment to reap the benefits of a diverse workforce. Marvel, do you want to expand on that at all? About the value of diversity in your talent acquisition, in your retention, and having strong diversity, equity, and inclusion programs in your organization?
Well, I can say that, everybody has a different perspective. Everybody has a different contribution and different lived experiences. And when you have military service members being part of the workforce who already have trained, like have specific training, bringing that thought to the conversation, to the table, and being part of the dialogue to, like Michael said, impact change, improve process, grow and do everything we can. That's where, you talk about the diversity and bringing that to the table, but having those conversations and listening and putting things into play. It's not just one person who has all the ideas. It's all of us that have these ideas. And we want to be able to have the space to be able to share those ideas and, contribute to our organization for it to be better.
How do you make it work logistically? How often do your ERGs meet? Do they work over a lunch period? Are they expected for it to be extracurricular, or do you have buy-in from the top to the point where it's like, hey, this work hour is when you guys or guys and gals are going to get together? And how do you make that work throughout a work day? Can you just talk me through the logistics of, because somebody may be watching that's in a leadership position that's like, I can't spare an hour for a group of 10 people. How do you make that work?
So, these groups got to be based on inclusivity. You have to find a way to make it work. You can't. One thing that they've done just recently is they've made changes to, expectations for our members. You've got to, like, leadership buy-in's huge. You got to let people have the opportunity. No matter if somebody can make it 15 minutes, half an hour, 45 minutes, or the whole hour. Aside from the co-chairs, You just want people to have the opportunity to get there. And they've stressed a lot that this is, done during work time. It's not to say we can't do things outside of work time as a group, and which we would love to get to once our lovely friend COVID goes away.
Yeah.
Or, is lessened. But leaders, you'll get leaders buy-in if you ask for it. I mean, you're proving right now that these groups are incredibly important.
Totally. And I think there are handfuls of studies, and there will be a lot of measurable data to come as this idea proliferates and popularizes, and you see every large corporation, organization, for-profit, nonprofit, public, private, everything in between start to have these affinity groups and reap the benefits of truly supporting their people, celebrating diversity of skill set and opinion and everything. I think we'll start to see a lot of data on that. Right now, there may be some doubts in certain leaders' heads about like whether or not they can spare an hour to have a group meet. But let me tell you, just chat with a CEO that has an effective set of ERGs and DNI and affinity groups in their organization, and I don't think they will have anything negative to say about that time that's spent, because you have more supported, you have happier employees, you have more productive employees. It's just it's a win across the board. I haven't found anyone that has said in our entire constituency that's like, oh, it's a waste of time. I've literally never seen it. So as we're kind of rounding third here and approaching home base here, do you have any closing thoughts or anything that you wanted to add? We'll start with Marvel. Anything that you wanted to add about the ERG space, or if you want to talk a little bit about UW Health and anything that you're doing in the DNI space or in the diversity, equity, and inclusion space, or any and all of the above.
Well, I do. Thanks for giving me the floor to talk about it, because been working on this for about 5 years, and really trying to, and I was approached by our VP of HR at the time, who is a Navy commander, and he really wanted somebody to move forward with trying to continue to grow our military presence as a military-friendly employer. And we had previously and continue to do military service recognition events for our staff. We are a member of the Veterans Chamber of Commerce. We are very engaged in our local, state, and federal communities that serve veterans and their families. We have regular communications via email when we're promoting events, hiring events. One of the things we do as well is if one of our community partners has a veteran or somebody who wants to apply, they have a direct link to me, and I help to facilitate that within our organization. And it's sometimes I get people who be like, can you just look at their resume and kind of help them make it a little bit more civilian speak, and so I'll work with them individually, or it could be as an organization. One of the things that we're really excited about, though, is the Army Pays program. Are you familiar with the Army Pays program?
No, tell us about it.
Sure. So the Army Pays program it's a recruitment strategy for recruits coming into the Army, the U.S. Army. And when they complete their service, they would be guaranteed an interview with a civilian employer. And so we have a contract with them to be able to interview those completing their service, to help them get employment right away, hopefully, when they have finished their service. So we are super excited about having that. And that's a partnership with some of our other partner organizations that also do the Army Pays program. It's a nationwide program, but we're super honored to be part of that. And then, one of the things we also do, and this is a great resource, is the ESGR, the Employer Supported Guard and Reserve. They talk a lot about affinity groups. I've done a lot of trainings with them about affinity groups, and just kind of really getting some of that baseline knowledge of how to start one, what can happen in there, and then bringing that back to the organization for them to, discuss that and move forward if they chose to. And they did. We did. UW Health has moved forward with that and expanded even further. So, yeah, there's a lot of different things that we do to try to make ourselves as military friendly as possible so that veterans and family members and military service members will choose us as their employer. Work-life balance is so important. And, if you can come to work and be part of who you are, and bring that to the table, that it just makes it for a better work experience. And, really fighting those values that are close to you are going to be the same values with the organization you choose. So.
Right on, Marvel. It sounds like, UW Health is doing all the right things when it comes to engaging with and supporting veteran talent and military families. I just wanted to add one thing that's so awesome is the guaranteed interview, and not necessarily because there's an opportunity for a job there, but because landing an interview, especially directly out of service, especially if you need help with your resume, perhaps keyword optimizing it so it can land with applicant tracking systems and all that stuff, it can take time. And getting at a minimum, a practice opportunity to go through an interview is insanely valuable.
Yeah. So, and just to clarify, that's what the Army Pays program is. They guarantee that interview for those soldiers. So I want to clarify, we don't guarantee interviews for all veterans. We have to be able to screen those applications.
Right.
But if there was a Wisconsin Chamber of Veterans Chamber of Commerce member who wanted to reach out and learn a little bit more about how we do that, or if there's somebody out there that's watching that wants to have their resume taken a look at, my name is right there. You can find me. I can share my email address if you want. Just send me your resume, and I'd be happy to take a look at it.
That's a good segue. It almost looked like we planned that. We didn't, though. I was going to ask, where can somebody, before I turn it over to Michael for his final thoughts, where can somebody learn more about what UW Health is doing to support the military and veteran community? Is there a website?
So we don't have a website per se, but we do have a space on our careers page that does talk about our diversity, equity, and inclusion, and military is one of our pages out there. We have some videos out there of some military service members who are working with us at different levels in the organization. But at the same time, if you're watching this broadcast and you want to reach out to me, my email address is mbrown with an E at the end at uwhealth.org. And I would love to hear from you.
Excellent. And what I'm going to do is, look at this. Hold on. I'm so happy with StreamYard. Look at that. Scrolling across the bottom, careers.uwhealth.org/diversity-inclusion, or you can just Google search UW Health Diversity Inclusion. I'll make sure to put that link also in the comments here. I'll do it while Michael is talking, and in the show notes as well, so you don't miss out on the opportunity to learn more. That's good stuff. Thank you so much, Marvel, for that and for everything that you're doing. Michael, do you have any closing thoughts? Anything that you want to add?
We hit pretty much everything. I just got to give some love to certain people.
All right, go for it.
Thank you to, all the members in my ERG, but all the members in all the ERGs. Thank you to the DEI group and all of the hard work they've done to make this happen. Afra Smith and Naomi Takahashi, we appreciate you, and this stuff is working. So.
Right on. Yeah. And, diversity, equity, and inclusion and diverse affinity groups are valuable for your organization. So if you have an organization, time to start thinking about your ERG action. If you're in an organization and they don't have one, you can be the spark that leads to the change in this improvement, not only for the employee and the workforce, but also for the overall effectiveness of the organization that you work for. Marvel, Michael, thank you both so much for your time. I'm going to ask you to hang on the line here for just a second while I close things out. So everybody, super valuable stuff. I think you can see the value of ERGs, of affinity groups, of diversity and equity and inclusion, all of those things. And if you missed the first part of it, this chat, just scroll back a little bit. Just scroll back. It's all there. It's going to live on in perpetuity. But there's great information in there about how to start and support, and the importance of having affinity groups. Scrolling across the bottom, you see UW Health, where you can go to their website to learn more about their diversity and inclusion efforts. I almost had a tongue twister there. Their diversity and inclusion efforts. UW Health is doing some great things in our community, and I would encourage you to check them out and learn more about them. Join the Wisconsin Veterans Chamber of Commerce every single Wednesday for office hours live, same time, same place, Facebook, LinkedIn, YouTube, Twitch. And I would also invite you to go to our Linktree, linktree.com/WI Vets Chamber. Follow us across all social platforms. And I hear a rumor that if you subscribe to the Wisconsin Veterans Chamber of Commerce on YouTube, then all of your wildest dreams will come true. It hasn't been confirmed, just a rumor going around. A lot of people are saying it. All of your wildest dreams will come true if you subscribe to us on YouTube. So be sure to do that, because you'd hate to miss out on an opportunity to have said wildest dreams come true. I mean, imagine if the rumor's right and then you miss out on that. You don't want to miss out on that. Anyways, I'm being weird. I'll see you next week.